Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. Doing business in life with a purpose, serving others, and also achieving success. I'm your host today, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to learn how to do business in life, but I want you to make an impact in the world with that serving. I want you to think about while you're listening to my guest today, how will you serve today and what impact will you make in your world? And I'm excited. This guest is a firecracker, faith-driven, loves life, and is helping so many others, and is truly making an impact in her world. Dr. Janet, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me
You're
as a guest on your show and enabling me to enjoy
absolutely.
those that you impact so significantly. So I'm truly humbled to be here today.
So let me ask you, what is an impact you make with your clients?
It is my belief, because I am a child of the Most High, that those that Daddy, as I refer to him, enabled me to cross paths with are those that he has strategically positioned, both for me to impart that which he desires me to, but also for me to learn. So it is a really fine-tuned and divinely woven tapestry, wherein we're both supporting each other and we're both empowering ourselves to the next possibility.
So it sounds like you help people make an impact themselves, take what they're doing, and you go out to your world to make an impact. Talk more about that.
Well, I am known as the human GPS navigator. And my desire to do is to enable people to live their created purpose, finding out why God chose them to come this time, not 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years in either direction, either previously or to come, but specifically. And in so being positioned, there is a purpose for you. And enabling each person to find out exactly why they are here and what they are supposed to do so that they can return empty is the desire. And sometimes we need to be guided along that way. And that's what I do as a coach.
So somebody's listening is going, hey, Dr. Janet, this sounds wonderful, but what kind of results can I see?
One of the interesting things, and talking about living in your purpose, I was diagnosed with breast cancer next year. No, this year will be my 3rd year as a survivor. And thank you. Thank you. And it's not one of the tools I would have put in my toolbox, mind you.
Yeah.
But having found it there, I have been able to realize that my success, my ability to be on the other side of this, because it was very aggressive and took me through some changes in terms of being treated and so on. But my mindset, my philosophy, my knowing very shortly after I was diagnosed, turning to God and say, hey, look, what's up with this? You know, I'm sure you're the only, I'm the only one that's taken by surprise by this. You're not. And so help me to embody what you had in hope when you allowed this for me. And so my mindset altered the way in which I dealt with the diagnosis and also how I went through the treatment. In the infusion center, ironically, I came to the realization that this is going to be the first time in my life that I can do a pole dance. Now,
Amazing.
when I walked into the infusion center and I go, well, hey, y'all, I'm ready to do my dope pole dance. Who's going to join me? Everyone there looked at me like I was mad. I said, well, I'm going to be hooked up to this pole for 4 hours. And what prevents me? Who says I have to sit down and recline? I can get up every time I have to go to the bathroom, I get a drink of water and do a dance. So I'm pole dancing. And so it was, it provided levity in the room, but it also rechanneled many of the people there who were feeling death and doom, and this was a death sentence, and not to minimize the severity of a cancer diagnosis, but our mindset changes everything. And so, having had that tool in my toolbox, the diagnosis, has enabled me now on the other side of it to provide for many people, many of my clients. It's amazing how many after the diagnosis, how many clients I have attracted who are at varying stages. Some of them basically told by their oncologist to go home and put their affairs in order because they're about to die. They're stage 4. And they found me somehow, whether it was a referral or whatever, but we started working together. And stage 4, I have one person right now that is a year and a half
Hmm.
outlived what the doctor said
Amen.
because their mindset, their self-love, their ability to walk into their purpose has so changed because of our working together that they're thriving now.
Yeah. Yeah. You said a word that I've heard very infrequently is altered mindset. And I'm sure the audience is going, altered mindset. Explain what that really is, or what it is, not really.
For me, it means you have been presented, let's say in this case, with a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And automatically, many of the doctors will tell you this is what you can do, what you can't do, this may be your life expectancy, these and so on. And taking that and knowing that you didn't just clock in today, there is a God that has a purpose for you. And as such, going back home empty, knowing that you have blessed the world with all that you are, and try in every facet of every day to leave a lasting memory on those that you encounter. Bless them for having met you. Treasure them for having known. Many cases you're in an oncologist's office, many cases you're in an infusion center. How can you not just be another number, but how can you be the
Mm-hmm.
one that stands out? And by so doing, in order to stand out, you have to be different than others. And how can you be a fragrance in the midst of that odor, but be a fragrance that is lasting, a fragrance that is memorable? So that alters the situation.
Yeah.
You become a blessing to others. And in so doing, you become a blessing to yourself.
Amen. And it's interesting. I tell people, and business owners especially, you need to be uncomfortable to be comfortable in your business. You need same thing in dealing with with cancer. Let's just use that. You're going to be uncomfortable. You said it. Okay, I got this diagnosis. I went to God, went to this, but you walked in with that altered mindset. And I'm going to change everybody around you. I call it value, blessings, same thing. It's changed my life. So what she's saying, Dr. Janice nailed it. And I tell people, you have a bad day and yours day is worse than most, or people that you work with, go bless somebody else. And that comes back to you.
You know, it's interesting because you talk about corporations, and I work quite extensively with corporations as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at the created purpose for that corporate entity. Because in the beginning, there were a set of desires that enabled this particular corporation to be created. And when we are able not just to swallow a mission statement, but look at how the individual employees in that corporation, their created purposes come together
Yeah.
to create, enhance, and alter for the better the philosophies of the founder. It's a beautiful situation. So we again are able to create a tapestry for greatness, irrespective of where we are, whether it's in our family, whether it's in ourselves, whether it's in our corporate entity, knowing who you are, knowing why you are, knowing whose you are, enables your fragrance to rise.
Yeah.
A bouquet of flowers is most stunning. Sometimes you can have a bouquet of liked colors, yet their fragrances are different. The fragrance of one white rose next to another white rose, although they look the same, differs. And it's so the ability to blend, the ability to create just an amazing presentation
Yeah.
is what God is about.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting. You talk about life, self, and corporate, three worlds that they collide all the time. And you probably talk to as many people as I do that go, oh my gosh, I've got a problem with my girlfriend and my business sucks. Well, there's probably a relationship there. And that's what kind of what you do. I know that's not minimizing it a little bit. I want to jump into faith. And how does faith help you get to your purpose and eventually serve your clients?
Hmm. The beauty that I have in my relationship with God is one where, as a child, I was a preacher's kid, and whatever that means to you, go with it. I will never deny or affirm any of your philosophies of PK. Yet, one of the things that stood out for me is that sense that as a child of God, I have to be willing to be put on his potter's wheel. And throughout my life, I have done pottery. Once
Mm,
with a kick wheel that was not electric, and one with the electric wheel. And it is artistry. It is really knowing in real time what that clay wants to say and wants to be, and irrespective of its impurities, either work around and get the impurity out, or squash it, remove it, and start all over. Enabling me, Janet, to constantly, daily, minutely, and sometimes every second, to be malleable, to be
mm.
willing, to be molded by God, enables me to know that when someone has entrusted me as their coach, I too must have a sense of mastery to protect them, but also a willingness to flow, a willingness to allow their free will, as it were, to be exercised as I embody and hold them to that course where they will eventually be.
I love the word malleable because we don't do that enough in our world because we're so focused on media. There's so much outside influence. And interesting, you talk about pottery. Funny thing, first thing that jumped in my head was the movie Ghost. And Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore are on that party. And that's what you're talking about. If you know the audience, the movie Ghost, they're sitting there together, of course, an intimate scene, but that's what you did, right? Spun that thing and made beautiful pots. Oh, that's incredible. Well, you're doing some powerful work, but things change in business. So what does your future look like in the next 3 years?
Again, if I am allowing myself to be molded by God and that there is nothing new under the sun, and entrusting myself to be in the way of God, He will lead me and He will prepare me. And so, irrespective of what it is that is going on, particularly during the COVID era, well, I was a New Yorker. I lived and practiced in New York, born, bred, and fed. And 9/11 came, and many of my clients were Wall Street people and top execs, and they were disseminated all over the world. And so I began to treat them over the phone. And so I never lost a beat at 9/11. Well, when COVID came, it didn't make a difference because I was already working virtually, as it were. And so I was able to establish cathartic calls for first and last responders because they were distraught.
Yeah.
And so I was able, from a virtual platform, then, whether it was phone or whether it was Zoom or Google Meets, whatever modality, to be that voice that they could ring into and dial into, scream, cry, or just know that it's a number that they could just exhale. And so I know that being in the way of God, I will always be prepared for whatever comes my way.
I like it because it's interesting. You pivoted, and it's a lesson, audience. If you're business owners out there, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call yourself, you've always got to learn to pivot, whether it's 9/11, 2008 crash, COVID, recession this year in 2024. It can be something in 2028 that something happens, but that's a powerful lesson that you kept going. You found a way, but you were uncomfortable to be comfortable in the change. It probably wasn't easy to jump on that first phone call, go, hey, let's talk about some very personal and intimate things. So it took time, right? But you did it.
Yeah, I mean, and am I going to be relevant? You know,
Yeah.
what became significant for me was allowing myself to do, as you say, that first call. I acquired the ability to listen. And what I could not see with my clients in the office with me, I began to hear shifts. Even as they shifted their bodies, you couldn't see it. But I became attuned to what happens to one's voice as they're shifting, as minimally as what does someone sound like when they are distracted? What does someone sound like when they are pondering what to say and giving you their second or third or fourth blush rather than their first blush?
Yeah.
And how to hold that space for them that acknowledges it, yet calls them out on it.
Yeah. That's really, really good stuff. That is really good stuff. I always like to ask this question, and it's a perfect question for you. What does a servant leader's characteristics look like to you if you met somebody, they walked up to you and you go right away, that's a servant leader? What characteristics would they have?
Hmm.
It's a tough question, I know.
Listening to the still small voice,
Mm,
the ability to look at their eyes and see the pathway to their heart, the ability to, and the willingness to sit with. Some of my most impactful sessions have been sessions where there's just silence. And in that silence, I am present And that presence enables my clients to know that their heart actually is being held. And it is a safe haven for them to own who they are and know that they are being loved unconditionally.
Powerful. We're running out of time here, but I got one or two questions. How does a company take servant attitude and still make a profit? They're like, a lot of companies are profit first companies. I can't be a servant. I'm a profit first. How would you talk to a company that wants to serve and then profit?
And many of the companies that I have worked for, that is the dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, one of the things I encourage them to do is to delve into the heart of the company. If there were no words, if we could paint what it is this company is about, what would that painting look like? If there was one word that could symbolize your company, what would that one word be? If you had someone who was visually impaired and audibly impaired, how could you convey what this company signifies? That being actualized then can be translated irrespective of the timing, because it is tapping into the core needs of humanity.
Purpose. You just brought it all the way back to purpose. I love it. Well, we've run out of time. I'm really speechless. Got a book, page through notes. This has been incredible. And how can people get a hold of you? Because I know they want to ask you questions.
Definitely. I have a website entitled janetpalmer.com. And you are free to go there and let's have a virtual cup of coffee. And let's see where it goes from there.
Oh, I love it. And I tell everybody, my audience, listen to the show a number of times. There's some key notes here like malleable and altered mindset. You want to listen again, her answers to that, because this could be life changing for you. And that's what she does, whether it's a disease or your corporate, which is again a disease, it's just a business disease. She's there to help you and serve you. And I want you all to remember my next TV show will be next Friday and every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. And I hope to see all of you at our next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Thank you all.
Thank you.